Hello, everyone. Thanks for watching this special episode of Really Dicey. This is Manny. I'm here with Pete, and today we're talking to CJ, the creator of Cloudbreaker Alliance, the role-playing game. CJ, how are you?
Yeah, I'm great. Thanks for having me, the two of you, Manny and Peter.
Let's start at the beginning. CJ, for those of you that may not know who you are and not know that you have two great YouTube channels, Don't Stop Thinking and Cool History Bros. Tell us about yourself. Who are you?
My name is CJ. I am all the way here down under from Australia. I am working down here just creating various, uh, tabletop role-playing game content with my first channel, Don't Stop Thinking. I had tutorial for animated tutorial for other tabletop games, and also now I am creating Cloudbreaker Alliance. And with also with a bit of knowledge in history, especially history in various other parts of the world besides Europe. I covered a bit of that, and it also kind of informed the way I create my games and also structure my stories. And one of the elements that I've incorporated is the East Asian storytelling method of Kisho Tenketsu, which is used in a lot of anime and lots of manga, that sort of things. And I think, because Nintendo also used it in their game design, so I think, hey, why not use it in my own games too? And I also study various literatures from history, the Odyssey, Iliad, Arthurian romances, the Chinese classic Romance of the Three Kingdoms, Journey to the West, and also Japanese literatures. A lot of my the principles that I've been using in my game is the Honkaku mystery sort of rules. Honkaku mystery is a Japanese mystery novel writing sort of technique or convention. In the West, it is called fair play mystery, fair play whodunit. In the 1920s, their mystery writing circles and also industry is quite advanced. They are all almost as big as Agatha Christie, but of course it is localized in Japan. The idea is that they will lay out all the clues and all the hints necessary to solve the mystery before the perpetrator or culprit is revealed. So the readers have the chance to also create their own discoveries or like reveal the perpetrator before the detective does it in the story. So I also built that sort of mystery solving elements into the game. This is why a big part of Public Alliance is it allows people to investigate their enemies, to analyze them, discover what their weaknesses and neutralization conditions are, so that you can solve the combat situation or other critical situations without actually having to reduce their hit points to zero. If it's a robot, you find out where the panel is. You just like use your mechanics kit and open up their insides and just pull the right cable. That's part of the gameplay. But of course, we also have a robust combat element in the game too. I can keep going on and on, but I think I should let you ask some questions.
Well, if I may ask, where did the idea for this game come about? What inspired you to make it?
I guess one of the first things first I come up with a setting because back then it was the 2000s I think or 2001 and so that was right at the height of COVID, where the world is pretty much everybody is locked behind their borders and everything. So the idea is to in the world setting there are like really tall cloud walls separating a lot of like civilizations and people. So you want to break down the wall and reconnect with the rest of the world. So that's where it comes from. So it's the it's pretty much I let my surrounding inform my design decisions, and also the like games such as like Dungeons and Dragons. They have sort of like strong roots in wargaming, and I think that wargaming. Well, I'm diverging more towards a narrative side of gaming, but I want to also evolve on the idea of wargaming because in war games usually you just like set up soldiers and so on and just have two sides fight. But in this game, I want to incorporate the moral and the sort of like I sort of like psychological elements into it. That's why in combat, the enemy's morale is really important. You don't need to reduce all their hit points to zero. If you reduce all their morales, eliminate all their morale, they will all run and you'll also gain victory. So it allows you to pretty much outmaneuver the enemy or find other ways to succeed. This is pretty much based on Sun Tzu's Art of War. You succeed without the best uh, war is won without combat. So this is the idea. So I want people to find the solution to their situations by other means instead of just combat. It allows for other solutions.
The gentleman that we met at PAX, and I noticed that also in the description of the book, the setting is described as counter-apocalyptic. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because I like the idea of counter-apocalyptic as opposed to just post-apocalyptic.
Right. Yes. Well, counter-apocalyptic. Well, it's a very optimistic idea that okay, well, the apocalypse happened. Well, it's time to fix everything. It is possible to find a way to like right whatever wrong that happens, and also perhaps make a better society. Perhaps don't know if they will achieve it or not, but they will work sure as hell work towards it. That's the idea. It's principally an optimistic game, but of course, there are still challenges. It's not easy. That's the idea. That's why part of the game is to find other solutions besides fighting. Just like how do you know, how do you end the apocalypse or make the world a better place if all you can do is just fight and start another war?
Part of why I'm interested in that is because a lot of folks will talk about how Dungeons and Dragons as a standard can also be very post-apocalyptic in ways because you have these dungeons that basically often, usually the story is that they come down from like a society that's past. So hearing you speak of counter-apocalypse, that's like that almost seems like a new take. And I guess the ask there is and what inspired that? What inspired as opposed to just a post-apocalyptic? What inspired the counter-apocalypse?
I don't know. Perhaps just like challenges.
Right.
Well, rather than just perhaps like seeing the world or like just looking at the conditions of what everything is. Why just accept it? Why not work towards something better? And besides, we're usually picking the right thing to do is harder than anything else. That's what it also provides the excuse to give your players lots of challenges. If you want to, rather than choosing faction A or faction B, let's help all factions, but it's going to be really hard for you. Always have the hardest option for the players. That's also the way I usually run my games. That's what.
Yeah. So basically, it almost sounds like your worlds are more about living as opposed to surviving.
That's
Am I
right.
correct?
Right. And also building up.
Yeah, I like that.
Who can you be in this world? What character options can players choose from in playing
Oh,
this
all right.
world?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, there are various life forms. We use the term life forms because we also have what's called Armgeist. So it's the soul of someone who has gone into a weapon. So you don't actually have to be a biological creature. Like Elric's like saga. There is the storm. I forgot what the sword is called, but you can play as a living weapon, living sword, and you possess someone's body, or you can be a jelly person. You can also be, in like Asian mythology. there are like objects that has gained life, right? So you can be a stereo that gains sentience, and you just live your life trying to find your purpose in your existence. And as artificial, you become your life is an object, and in the lore, artificial, once they found and fulfilled that purpose of life, they would disappear. Their existence would disappear. They don't die normally. So it also, the idea is that to have, we create three important character options: the life form, the character quirks, and also the classes and disciplines, of course. The life form is something your existence begins with, something you are born with. You cannot change it. And your character quirks, it's somewhat related to your personality, but it doesn't have to be perfectly fit. So because it would be interesting if you are perhaps a monk or a nun, but you are really vindictive. It's the opposite sort of like character quirk. That's something you can change slowly. And the class and disciplines is something once you have uh, like you earned a certain rank in class, you can swap them easily. So you can be a berserker, and if you need to, you can swap back to your sort of like samurai class after you have taken a bit of a break to sort of get yourself in the right mood to change swap class. So I think these are good storytelling elements, something you can't change, something uh, you slowly change, or something you grow into, and something that can be changed easily. So this is one.
What excites you about this work?
Well, I guess it's uh, what type of story people can tell with it, because um, rather than simulationists trying to create or perhaps trying to reflect a sort of a reality of to simulate something that has existed. This is built from the ground up to help the players and also game masters tell a story. So it's informed by storytelling choices, and I just really want to see where can people take this, what sort of story they can tell with this.
Let's talk about the rule system a little bit. Now, I'm intrigued by it because it sounds like from the description of it that you use 2d6. And my first thought is that maybe this is like a powered by the apocalypse, but it doesn't seem to be that system. It's your own system. Am I correct about that?
That's right. Yes. Well, in my other YouTube channel, I have created tutorials for like other games like Dungeons and Dragons, Call of Cthulhu. And in fact, I volunteer a lot at various like tabletop circles and groups in Australia. I run various other systems, the Fate, Doctor Who, and everything. I just, in the end, I realized that you don't need to make the dice system too difficult or too fancy. I try to make it as easy as possible while still keeping a bit of like a sort of like a good range, good normal deviation with the 2d6, and also create a sort of like a complexity from the other side. So rather than trying to find which dice they need for certain ability, this would lead the players into thinking, what are the monsters' weaknesses, or what is that button over there? Maybe if I go there and press it, a trapdoor will open. So I am redirecting the attention of the players to different elements of the game. So this is why the monsters or the traps have a bit more sort of like information they can play with. How you can perhaps like overcome the trap by jumping over it, or you can use your infiltration kits to cut off the wire or something like that. It gives player options towards problem solving uh, what dice, rather than forcing them to think, what dice should I use for this problem?
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting. And does the magic system work the same way?
The magic system is a lot. It's intuitive, very intuitive. So you attune to elements. If you attune to fire, you get the flame arrow, fire weapon, and flame circle. And if you attune to wind, you get three set of spells. But if you have these two elements, fire and wind, you can get a new magic, a fire blast. And if, for example, you get fire and if you get wind and wood, for example, it becomes healing wind. So it's a combination of elements, and the result is quite intuitive. And we have quite a few elements too. Like there are 6 basic arcane elements that you can just combine until you create really interesting spells, and also another set of cosmic magic like order, chaos, and astral. They are less reactive, but it's they're slightly more powerful. So it's a almost like a two-tiered magic system. One is more like a chemistry, and one is more like a physics. It's a bit more difficult, a bit more subtle to control, but it is easier to understand. And also, it also ties with the lore of the world because there is a set of arcane elements and arcane magic, and a set of cosmic elements and magic. There is a connecting web between the two, but the thing is that they haven't discovered what it is. Like in our world, there is supposed to be a theory of everything that connects physics and chemistry, but they haven't discovered it. They haven't really connected the two schools of sciences. This is how I create the magic system, so that um, if somebody specialized in even one school of magic, they will think differently. They will approach the magic differently, and this is how the class also force the player to think in a certain way. In terms of class design, I always think that a good class design will force a person to find an optimized way that is similar to what the classes do. For example, if you are a Templar or a samurai, you work best in your brotherhood or your knighthood. So you work with a partner. Their special ability is to look after their partner. It it's every class only has 4 basic features, but you can improve them. So it's easy to understand them. The idea is that we don't make it just easy for the players themselves to understand the class. We make it easy for the other players to understand their friends' class, so that they know what they can rely on their friends to do. This game has a lot of like teamwork, because one of the more important features of the game is the spirit token. This is pretty much like super meter, or if you watch those animes, the more they fight, the more intense they become.
Hmm.
But there is a bit of like a power of friendships thing. You can become so intense, but if your friend is in trouble, you can pass on some of your spirit and let them unleash a really powerful attack because they are really close to the enemy boss or something like that. So that you can discuss with your friend, hey, I think you really need this to use this ability now. So I'll give you my spirit tokens. I'll give you my energy and so on. Uh, this is this is how we encourage the players to participate, even if it is not their turn.
How challenging was developing the mechanical elements versus the story elements? Because I often find like mechanical elements are difficult to come up with, or like are the most difficult part in
Oh
game
yeah.
design. So how was that for you in developing Cloudbreaker
Oh,
Alliance?
lots of sleepless nights and lots of tears. Right. Yes. Yeah. It's there are so many things I've wrote that I've like thrown away.
Hmm.
A lot of like trial and errors. It's so hard, but eventually, um, this is actually a lot more simplified than what I came up with originally. So sometimes simply being keeping it simple is best.
What can you tell us about the villains in your setting, and do you have any favorites?
Favorites. Well, there are various groups of villains. They are monster groups. Each villains are villain groups. They are not people. They are more like monsters. The idea of monster in this world is that a certain group of beings that draw their power from the cloud walls, and also creatures that refuse to negotiate or form peace, or they are unwilling to do so, because like one of the monster types is the cinder gliders, and also craniophages. They are large, virus-shaped creature, and they are hive minds. They are absolutely powerful. They are uh, to them, all these sapient beings are like ants. Perhaps they will use them as resources, but they are not gonna form alliances or form peace with them because there is no need. It is just like humans interacting with ants. Perhaps they will cull the ants if they find it beneficial for them, or they will harvest the ants, but they are not gonna like communicate with the ants to form a treaty with them, that sort of thing. It reflects the sort of like the sort of like characteristics of one of the civilizations, because each civilizations has their own natural sort of monsters they have been dealing with for millennia. um, Certain groups are which is based on like martial arts and like mystics. Their enemies are fiends. They are mimetic beings. They are creatures that forms in the mind. Anyone can turn into a fiend if they sort of like give in to their own dark desires. So anyone could be fiends. This is how they are trying to deal with their inner beasts, or inner sort of like inner darkness. So every group have their own issues, their own monsters to deal with. This is why they have the Cloudbreaker Alliance. They try to find a way how to solve each other's problems.
Oh my gosh! Wow, that it sounds almost like eldritch horror in a way. These cosmic beings are just doing what they do and not giving any thought to humanity or anything like that. Um, wow, that's really awesome. The artwork for this is amazing. I only have the digital side of it, and I did pick a little peek at when Peter had the hard copy of it. It's a beautiful looking book. The art's fantastic. The layout is wondrous. Um, Tell us about that a little bit. What was the design process for this book like? How much input did you have a say when it came to working with the artists?
Uh, well, I do provide basically a design brief, but a lot of these artists are friends of mine. So I give them a bit of design brief, and I let them run with the idea. I give them pretty much a sort of like mainly dot points on what this character or what this class should represent, and give them enough freedom to interpret it in their own way. And it is a lot of pretty much a lot of like arranging work for different artists, because they have their own sort of like ways of doing their work, and they have their own schedules and so on. It is quite hard to keep a certain sort of like uniformity in the art direction and so on, but it is a lot of work. And also um, we prioritize in uh, something new, something novel, because we don't want to create something that other people has already done, because it would be just overlapping and doesn't provide much content for people. So if the artist can come up with something new, something they like, something they believe in, just hey, let's do it. I think that's a cool idea. That's how I think. And we also make it work, and we also have a uh, really good community, Cloudbreaker community at Discord and other like various like social media, other places, which we get lots of feedback from. Because sometimes people from the design side can think of certain ideas easily, but it's hard to express it to other people. So I know what I'm trying to say, but am I saying it right? So we do a lot of feedbacks from a lot of feedback with our community. That sort of thing. It's our community is really important to us.
If I may ask, what's been some of the favorite characters that either you designed for this game when you played, or other people have made for this game? Is there any characters that really stand out to you?
I think one of the characters that stood out is yeah, from our test play. It's this really vindictive character who is sometimes also kind and caring. So it's a bit of like a bipolar sort of situation, but it is part of the character quirks. The idea of the way we design the character quirks is that if you use it, everybody benefits. So even though this character is playing a very bipolar character, because of the way it is designed, everyone still benefits from the mood swings. Because when this person is being vindictive, they know where the person they're being vindictive against is moving to. So they can use it to track that enemy, or if they're really kind, they can like help people to calm down and interact better with them. So this creates a bit of like a strange sort of situation where you just want to see this character gets worse and worse.
If I may,
Okay.
I'd like to come back to the fiend thing that you were talking about earlier, because I want to know if I was understanding it properly. So, is that like a mechanic in the game, like where characters can become a fiend? Is that what I was understanding from you, or?
It's well, perhaps we are going to expand on that, but
Mhm.
we are not. Well, there are a lot we can expand on, but we are trying to figure out what the community wants. I think we can do that. That's going to be really interesting. But the thing is, after running quite a few games, I think that it is. Uh, uh, you know, it can be really disruptive if the person just like starts betraying the group really early on.
Yeah,
The campaign doesn't really can usually just break down like that. I think
got you.
if you want to create a bit of like a sort of like a betrayal or like a heel turn somewhere in the game,
Right.
perhaps it's perhaps a bit of a warning not to do it too early, and mechanics that's gonna make it a really interesting one that happens at the end of the campaign or near the end of the campaign.
Right,
Something
right.
like that.
Well, I guess the only reason why I was asking was because I thought I understood you say like a character can become a fiend. What it reminded me of was the old West End Star Wars with the dark side points. Is what it kind
Uh,
of reminded me of. Which I mean, if I recall correctly, the way that system worked was that if you got too many dark side points, you would lose the character. So I guess I was curious as to like, okay, what happens when a character becomes a fiend? Do they essentially lose the character once that happens? I guess was my question.
all right. We don't have a system for that yet, but we do
Mhm.
have a system that lets character graduate. This is called a
Gotcha.
Destiny's Endpoint. So
Okay.
if you gain a certain like powerful weapon, or if you die and you're resurrected, you gain Destiny's Endpoint. If you
Hmm.
gain 12 of them, your character will graduate as an NPC. The idea
Gotcha.
is that you can also be part of a great like a overarching story. For example, you are actually the chosen one. You gain certain destiny's endpoint to become the
Hmm.
chosen one, to get
Hmm.
lots of people's admiration, or even be given a really powerful weapon or a really important items. And you know, uh, part of the game is that you also create bonds with various NPCs and so on. And at the end of the campaign, if the group, because usually it's quite lame to have the enemies be sealed for 100 another 100 years or another like millennia or something like that.
Right.
So you say, hey, let's end this once and for all. We will use the voice of the people and convert the bonds you have into spirit tokens to power up everyone, and everyone gets also a certain amount of destiny's endpoint. This is going to be their final arc of the story. They're going to end it with a bang. So then it's pretty much the power of friendship, like Dragon Ball, where everybody pitch in with their power.
Hmm.
And once your destiny's endpoint reach 12, you will your character will become an NPC. So you end the story with a bang, become a legend, rather
Hmm.
than it's pretty much the opposite of Call of Cthulhu games, where your character get progressively worse until they die or gets abandoned. And also because I find that in terms of gameplay, I've observed quite a lot of people, once their characters are reduced or becomes weaker or gain certain wounds or handicap, they will have less enthusiasm in playing this character, because this is not the original character they want to play from. Uh, you know, they become less interested, so there's
Hmm.
less stake in playing the character.
Hmm.
So this is also a way of fixing that. The more powerful you become, the because it also lets you end the story on a high note. So this character that's become really powerful, become a legend, you will just keep the character sheet somewhere, and you know that this guy is really great. He's a legend, and I want to keep the memory rather than just throwing it away.
If your book was studied years from now at schools, look, and it was looked at as an art form, um, what what themes do you hope that people get out of your work?
uh, Deal with challenges, because a really big point of the game is to find other ways of solving problems besides combat. Hopefully other people will start like figuring out other ways to solve issues and problems without just going to combat, even though combat is a lot of fun and we have robust combat rules. It's just that um, it'd be really interesting to see how other people approach this sort of philosophy, solving issues without combat, or with combat and perhaps in other sort of like ways of solving it. Because I'm sure my perhaps my background or my own history will has informed my decision. I would like to see how people from other background or other philosophical tradition come up with their own ways of um, solving problems with other means than combat.
I gotta say, I, I feel weirdly inspired by
Right.
just listening. I'm just like, wow, I don't know if it's because of the times that we're in or whatever, but it's like all of a sudden there's a sort of inspiration that I kind of feel, listening to you talk about the system and what your intentions were. I really like that. It's very different. Because like as we've already discussed, games tend to be very like combat focused, stories tend to be very combat focused, and it's actually good to see that there are folks developing systems and storylines that kind of take a more positive view of things and what we can do if we work together. So you know you've inspired me today. Maybe I'll make a discovery or something like that later on. Yeah.
Well, to piggyback what Pete said, I feel the same way. I love games that don't feel like a clone of something else. This feels very original. The rule
Hmm.
system is very original. The setting is wondrous. The art's fantastic. I love playing games where I don't feel like I'm just treading old ground or playing the same thing over and over again. It just feels very fresh, very new. Um, is there anything else about this book that we haven't asked you about that you wanted to share?
Uh, I don't know. I am. Yeah.
Well, if I
I
may
think we should.
ask, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Good. You sound like you.
No, no. I just said that. Um, I thought. I think I may have like said everything, or I'm not very good at like promoting my own work. That's the problem.
Yeah. Well, I mean, honestly, I feel like you've done fine, and like I said, I feel very good about it. Like I just hearing a lot of what you're saying about it. It sounds like a very interesting work, and I definitely I think I'm gonna try it out. Actually, we should run a game, Manny.
We should. We should.
Yeah, because so we can review it afterward, and also just it just seems like really great. But what I wanted to ask was, what's next? Anything you're working on, or that you can talk about?
Yes, I guess we are currently working on a campaign book with more character options, and also uh, pretty much a lot of things that we can't reveal a lot of it, but it's going to involve a bit of like exploration and
Okay.
some hex crawling and various other things that uh, our community has asked for, and also um, some new genres that I don't think people have actually tried in tabletop RPG, or at least
Hmm.
not in the West yet.
So, Cloudbreaker Alliance, the role playing game, you can find that at Drive Thru RPG as a digital copy. I believe you can buy the physical copy through Jap Anime Games. Is there anywhere else people can pick up your work?
We are also available on Twitch itch.io. So yeah, thanks a lot for having me, guys.
Yeah, this is fantastic discussion. So viewers, again, I'll put the links in the description below. Thank you for watching. Be safe out there. We'll see you next time.